'Twas the night before Christmas, but Christmas was no more. No presents to deliver, no reindeer to soar. It's the year 8000, and nothing's the same. The world is a wasteland with too many horrors to name. Everyone around must kill to survive. That includes even Santa, to make it out alive. So snuggle in tight, kids, while I share with you a tale about a world like our own, if it was dropped into hell.
Oh, you're right, I'm agitated. Santa's done being nice.
Hey everyone, and I want to welcome you all to the first episode of the Infinite Santa 8000 podcast. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Jessica Dwyer. I am one of the people that helped put this together, and I'm very excited to have with us the OG original peeps that made Infinite Santa 8000 what it is, and that is Mike Neel and Greg Ansin. And we're going to be telling you all about the history of this project, from where it started as a web series to it's now a feature-length film, and all the behind the scenes that you can handle. So welcome, guys.
Hey.
Hey.
So I'm very, very stoked to talk to you guys about this and to share with everybody the road to Infinite Santa. And so as the series progresses, we're going to give you behind the scenes. We're going to give you insight into the mechanics of making an animated web series and feature film. And it's a process and it's a journey. And guys, about how long has this taken to get to this point now?
Oh, what do we, Mike? I mean, we started in maybe 208, 207 when we were promoting the drive-in horror show.
209, I think, was the very beginning for the web series, and then
for the web series, yeah. But the idea, like this idea just didn't come out of like we didn't just say one day let's do this. It took a long time to get to actually back then, like But 209, I think, yeah, that's about right. That's when we did the year where we put the web series out every week, correct?
Yeah, this was early YouTube, and one of the ways to get views was to put something out every week. So we decided, let's make a episodic, 13 episode animated series for something we've never done. And it was great for a while to make deadlines. And then it was like, holy crap, we have to get one out next week. And then the week after that, and then the week after that. And we got it. And then as we're kind of chilling out, we're like, all right, what's the next thing? Let's do a movie and let's make it bigger.
There's no pressure at all with that.
Well, and not only that, let's try to do techniques that we've never done before, or we started and tried to do in the web series and didn't really work. But screw it, let's do it anyway. So
and we are like this is way skipping ahead, but we're like the kings of like Mike. Do you remember we made the movie? We used this weird ProRes 444, like for any geeky people out there, because from what we did, it could be blown up to 35 millimeter. And we actually did a test after the web series to see if it would work. I think the day Infinite Santa got released back in the first time it got out there, that was the day all theaters went digital. Like we
I know.
So I mean, our reasons for doing things sometimes we're not really thinking, we're just doing it.
Well, the cool thing though about having a 35 millimeter, if you actually have it on film, is there are a lot of art houses that's a specialty now that they're doing. Up in Portland, there's the Portland, Oregon, the Hollywood Theater does this all the time, where they tout that as, come in, we've got 35 mil and we can show it.
I think the version I just reconnected and the one on our computer is completely that, Mike. It's all like, we just
they all are. When we did it, we took one of the trailers for the web series and transferred it, because for one, it was short and transferring isn't necessarily cheap. And it's like, well, this doesn't work. Let's not transfer like 35 or 140 minutes. and we brought it to a local theater, actually where we filmed Drive-In Horror Show,
Oh, I
some of that
forgot
stuff.
about that. Yeah.
And we watched it, and it was like, it's just the coolest thing. I mean, it looks amazing now. Digitally, it's always looked incredible. I would love to see this in a film print because it has a quality to it that you just can't get otherwise. So
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no. So we skipped way ahead, but yes, sorry, Jessica.
No worries. Now, and I want to share with everybody out there that's watching this. If you aren't a techie person, or if you know somebody that is and also wants to know the ins and outs of like animation or get into that, you'll want to share this with them, because these guys are going to be sharing tips on that. They're going to give some background on how the animation works that they used for this and how you can use it. And there's going to be all kinds of tips and tricks and goodies for the people that are really geeky into the film thing like we are, and the animation thing like we are, because that's part of the reason we wanted to do this, is share it out with you to show you how it can be done on your own. But let's start at the very beginning. I wanted to ask this. I know we've talked about this in the past, but for everybody out there that hasn't heard of the behind the scenes story of how the idea of a post-apocalyptic or cyborg killer Santa Claus who takes on mutants and monsters and mutated Easter bunnies with multiple nipples, how that came to be, how many drugs were involved with the idea of this being fermented in your brains, how did that occur?
Greg, you can feel this one.
I think it's more like there's a lot to that. I think the first thing is like, I come from like music. I had a computer company. I've done some. I consider myself at this point in my life when I started. I consider myself an editor and like a music person. And me and Mike were a good team because Mike's a good editor, but he's also a great DP. Like I don't have a lot of those skills, so we made a horror movie. I don't necessarily. I think it was being at the Austin Film Festival and seeing the creators of Aqua Teen, and I asked him a question like, not how did you do it, but like physically, what programs you used, and they went from Photoshop to After Effects to Final Cut. And I looked at Mike, I'm like, we know these programs and we've worked in them and have some. So that's how I think maybe we thought we could do something like this. How it became like the first web series, I know we made an album with the Drive-In Horror Show, like
Which
with
is
the
great, by the
soundtrack.
way.
Thank you, Jessica. That was a lot of fun to make. But I really enjoyed that, and Mike's music, and I think we were thinking about doing a Christmas parody record of funny Christmas songs, but that's kind of already been done, and those are real difficult. And then how it turned into this, I know I have my notes on writing it, like, but I don't know how Mike and I came to that point of writing it. Like, I really forget that point, and how. I mean, we have a friend, Nick Flanagan and Jeff O'Brien. Nick, they're both artists, and they were a big part of the web series. We seem to get them involved somehow. You know?
Yeah, if I can fill in a few blanks, because I also can't exactly remember. I'm a huge Christmas horror fan, and I know that entered the conversation when we realized we couldn't do a parody record. And then at some point, Greg, I think your mind just kind of just gestated this idea and kind of just spit it out. So, because I remember, I think I was on vacation or something, coming back, and you'd created Santa, you created Martha, this little robot girl who's almost like his daughter, all this different stuff. And so I was kind of like, all right, cool, let's go with this. It's pretty cool, and it's a good direction. And then when we gave it to our artists, they started filling in the gaps, like Nick Flanagan with his, because they each did a bunch of designs, like Nick and Jeff, just to see, well, like, what is Infinite Santa? And when Nick did this design, Santa had this robotic eye scope, and he had part of his face looked like it had skin, like this patch of skin that had been replaced and sewn back on, which is from the story. But, when you give someone a story and say, hey, make a cyborg Santa Claus, like, what does that look like? It could be anything. And we have a lot of trust in our artists because I can't draw, Greg can't draw, at least not to that level, not even close.
No.
So it's like, I think we learned a long time ago that when you hire an artist, you hire them. You're not hiring them to do exactly what's in your brain. And that's kind of where this came from. And I think the other really big milestone with design was one of the first things that Nick designed, I believe, was the Santa motorcycle from the web series.
Oh yeah.
And he put all this Christmassy stuff on it. Like the handlebars were candy canes, and there were like little Christmas trees and doodads everywhere. And Greg and I were like, this is it. Like the way to do this, because it's a familiar story, but it's kind of different. And the way to make it unique is, and have a like creative direction, because it's so weird, it could be all over the place. We realized then that the creative direction is every time you're designing something artistically, when you're drawing it, put as many Christmas things in as you possibly can, because it makes this weird clash of like, like in the film, there's a morning star where the handle is wrapping paper. It's like, or there's like, snowflake throwing stars. Like you can go anywhere with this kind of stuff, and having a real concise creative direction really matters. I don't think we thought of it like that back then. I know I didn't. You just kind of go with what feels right. But in looking back, I think one of the reasons it works is because we did that. And then the story itself is so simple. So, you ground it in something really, really traditional. And yet the whole thing was a learning experience, but I really can't say we planned much of anything. It was kind of dumb luck for a lot of it, as far as I'm concerned anyway,
So it sounds like kind of the design aspect of it came first, and then that kind of fed the story as it went along.
Well, if people would be interested, I could post my original script, 13 scripts or one of them, from or just one, just because the amazing thing, I think what Mike is trying to compute, no, the story was there, but my story, or at least in the first thing, was very bland. Like there wasn't a lot of detail, so I just gave them. So I think Santa, he must have had the robotic eye scope because it worked, but I
Right.
don't know if he had the piece of flesh. Like I would have to go back, and like we would give them for like the creatures would be like a manguin, like half penguin, half man. Like if we like in our writing episodes, whenever we get to that podcast, we'll go into a bunch of fun stuff of exercises of how we came up with stuff like that. But yeah, no, just like Mike was saying, like I like having really creative people, and like Nick was the first one who designed Santa. Like it got a little adapted with other artists, but in the web series, that was how Nick interpreted our Santa Claus,
That's
Yeah.
great. And it sounds like one thing that you is one of the ways you guys work is you give a lot of creativity control to the artists. Like let them give you what they think would be good content. Let's see what, okay, here's the idea. Show me what you got, and bring that back and let them play with it first and then go.
I think that's right. And it's also us learning over the time what we need, because when we animate, so if someone was to watch our film or web series, they might think we're sitting there hand drawing everything like The Simpsons or Disney or something. And it's not true at all. We get images that are hand drawn and then colored digitally, but essentially like a marionette in Photoshop. So if Santa's, full body kind of facing the camera, we'll have his head and his chest and a couple parts of the arm and everything. And then we go into After Effects, which is an animation program, and make it move. And the computer fills in all the rest. So like if we say hand starts at the top and ends at the bottom, and it takes a second, the computer draws everything in between. So we don't have to do that.
Wow.
So that was part of it. And that enabled us to get better at asking for the right things from them.
Yes.
So they would give us whatever we asked for. Also, because I come from cinematography, we were trying to figure out how to give it a look. And I started playing with digital lights and After Effects, because you can light it. It's like if you ever watched Toy Story, there's lights in it. There's lights in Andy's room, and, there's lights on, Buzz Lightyear's, outfit and stuff. Well, we have those too. And I was like, well, why don't I just try to figure out if I can do something? And I remember the second I started, it's like, oh, wow, this gives it a different look. Again, it's a cinematic thing. So like, we only have one version of Santa's face, and we bring it in every time and light it differently. And that enables us to just cut down on the animation time considerably. So to answer the original question about where it came from, it really is a couple different things. There's the story, there's the artistic way, and kind of us working with the artist, at least in the beginning, to figure out, okay, you gave us this. Oh, this is great. Oh, we need this instead. And if you watch the original web series, especially over the first 5 or 6 episodes, you can see it change like in real time. It's kind of amazing.
It evolves.
Two things I want to bring up with Mike that reminds me. One of the reasons we started this is we made the first episode. I think we might have recorded them all, but we made the first episode and we showed it to the people involved, like Dwayne, and they couldn't believe that we did this on our computer. Because what Mike's talking about with the lighting, is just, and it's very easy in After Effects, but you put an ambient light and everything kind of becomes on the same plane. And then you start, it's not easy to do, but it creates a look that is far beyond what you might think you could do on your home computer. And Mike's very skilled at that. So that was that. And I completely forgot the second point that I was going to make.
Well, and this kind of is taking on two of the questions I wanted to definitely delve into right now, which is the world building and designing the look, because the creatures and characters within Infinite Santa are so varied and cool looking. And I mean, like they go from, Shackleton to Santa himself, to Martha, to the bunny, who I love and will always love. And I, at some point in the future, I want a stuffed animal of the bunny. It's just such an idiotic, goofy, awesome thing. But and I want him to shoot out radiated Easter eggs. That has to happen. I don't care what orifice it comes out of, but it has to shoot.
Oh God, I do. No, I absolutely care what orifice.
It's actually one of the comments of the movie. Not to get whatever is our artist Dawn drew the bunny, and they just that's how they are, like in nature. And people get offended of seeing nipples. Like it's kind of it's just weird. It's like that's probably the one comment we get sometimes that people get. Like, I liked it, but why did you do that? And it's like, we didn't even think twice about it. We didn't ask her. She just did it when she drew.
Nipples or nature.
Exactly. but what the point I forgot with Mike, with the animation, and this shows a lot in the movie, we got a lot better in the movie because we designed, using that same technique, we designed all the artwork. Like, there are scenes where like we had one picture or two pictures, so they're coming at the camera. So like some of the artwork we did in the movie, we really, in certain places, decided to, well, let's have our artist draw this instead of use that one position. Like there's that fine balance, and it really shows. And like, if you go through, there's probably about 10 scenes where we did that specifically, and it's really amazing.
Yeah, I think to add on to that too. So another way that we learned from the web series was, in the 4th episode, Santa drives his chopper. And it's easy to make it drive from left to right from the side, but how do you make it going forward? And I was like, okay, what do we do? I thought of Outrun, the old video game, and it's basically what I did. There's the road doesn't move and kind of trees come by and stuff and little like wiggly lines. And it looked fine. And we also had one where Santa does hand-to-hand combat with a giant bear monster, which was good, but the ideas I had in my head about how we could do it, I felt like we just scratched the surface. So when we did the film and we put those things in, hand-to-hand combat and flying, it was a leap of faith of like, all right, we've kind of figured out the very basic of how to do this. Like for myself, I'm like, I like to take on things that I know I can do, but maybe can't, but fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. And this was one of those of like, I know we can do this. So there are specific things like challenges we had as the series progressed and then in the jump to the film. And if you look at, like I said, the way that we animated Santa driving the chopper or fighting the bear and then compare it to the ones in the film, it's a huge leap forward. And again, that's us just figuring it out,
Yeah, and that's what's so great about it is the progression, and you see it and you get to that feature film and it's like, oh my God. And by the way, guys, feature film, the director's cut is available now on Blu-ray at Walmart's carrying it. Who else has got it right now? Like, I know Walmart was a big one. Like,
Target. Well, we as of this is 2024. We have a deal with Synapse Films, and they're the ones who are leading it. But so if you go to their website, you can always find our
yep.
Blu-ray. But they kind of their people disseminate it out, and like it's a Target, it's a Walmart, Amazon, all those good places. I think I
Yeah.
saw it on eBay already. You know.
Yeah, and if it's Christmas time or the holidays when you're seeing this, and you get to that awkward moment of people start talking about politics, just whip out Infinite Santa 8000 and put it in, and people will shut the hell up and just sit down and either run out of the room screaming in horror or just go, wow, this is neat. Or you can just scar the children for life as they're watching it.
Yeah,
That's right. Not my son, but other ones.
We're the weirdos, mister. We know we're the weirdos. We'll enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
But something that you'd brought up, Greg, was the fact that you're a musician, if it's not obvious from the background in your office. And I know Mike is definitely a musician, music lover. You've got a son that is just all about it. And music is such a huge part of this. Like, it is a rock and roll fairy tale, hardcore metal. The characters are made of metal, the music's metal. And so I wanted to talk to you about the importance of music in this and how you put together this just badass soundtrack.
Do you remember? I remember.
I know. I remember specific. I mean, because it kind of comes from the drive-in horror show. As part of the drive-in horror show, we did a soundtrack, and so we couldn't really pay the band, but we made music videos for them. And one of the groups was this group Hot Black, and the guitar player Todd. Like, we just kind of became friendly with him. So as we did this, Mike and I knew this. Like, we're a big fan of what was it, Adult Swim, Liquid TV, and the movie Heavy Metal, and like we knew this had to have like heavy music in it. And Todd is just a good friend, and he's just great at those riffs. And at the time he was playing in the band that he played in, Josh Quadra was their drummer, and he plays at Lions at the Gate now. He's in that band, but they just came in a couple hours. Just we had a few tracks, just put it out, and then we just kind of cut up that part of the music, and used it throughout,
So did they see footage to come up with the tunes, or did you just tell them?
No, we just poured beer down.
The nitty-gritty behind the scenes, kids.
This is going on almost 20 years ago.
Yeah. I remember Todd asked for examples, and I sent him Megadeth's Rust and Peach. He's like, "All right, cool, I got it." As fast as you can, and as thrashy as you can. I do remember too the first time that we made the title, because the title became really iconic. You see it in the web series. This this music, the heavy music that comes in with it, and the way it looks with lightning and stuff. I remember the first time, we made it. I think I made it, and it looked cool. And then put the music over it, and it was like, all right, this is it. Like, this fits. Like, so much of this whole process from a high, stepping back point of view was just like finding the right bit to fit in the right spot. And I'm fortunate. I feel lucky that there really weren't many times where we had the wrong bit going in the wrong spot. I feel like we're able to, it's a very intuitive creative process. I think that's part of why it's so weird, but seems cohesive. Greg and I are definitely the kind of people to get creative and follow and see where it goes, and not be afraid to just put something weird together because we want to. And I think if we hedged our bets or were too cautious with this, it probably wouldn't have either gotten done or wouldn't been as crazy as it is, because we really went for it. And I think that's the only way you can do something like this.
I agree. I think that's a good lesson for a lot of people that are out there that are wanting to try their hand at something, or even if it's animation or live action, or just do even a fan film. Just if you want to do it, do it.
And if you
have to try.
have talent, and the other part of the music is in the film, and I think as much in the web series, all the other ambient sounds, that's me. That I did all the background. I played the acoustic guitars, and that's like silent. Like I did all the happy, like not non-metal. And our friend Anthony J. Resta and Cariati, they remixed the web series movie music for the movie. So the music is kind of beefed up. The same music is beefed up in the film. But yeah, but what you were getting back to about inspiration is yes, if you know people that are talented in certain areas and maybe they don't have the skills to do certain things, if you put them in your movie, like their music, like in their band, they're not maybe not filmmakers, but you putting their music that you think is great, that the rest of the world probably will think is great, that really helps everybody and shows it. So that part of the filmmaking thing, it's like, how did some of this stuff get in there? Well, these are people we've worked with and we like their work, and like we've worked on them on other projects, so we're going to go back to them when we have something that we want to do.
Well, it kind of goes along with that too, how we all met and how some of the people that got involved later on in the project, in the feature film, even, we all met at conventions, and we there are a lot of untapped resources of artists and creators out there when you just start talking to each other and you end up, okay, well, I needed somebody to do this. That's what you do. I need somebody to do that. That's what you do. Hey, do you want to make a movie? Sure. Okay. And it's not we live in a world now, especially with this, because we are all three in different spots of the country right
Yep.
now, that you can remote in and do it and not have to be in the same place. And that's one really cool part of animation specifically, is it lends itself to a digital world.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that because there was a point in this movie. This is long before COVID, that Mike and I were telecommuting, and I had to tell him, I'm like, Mike, you have to. We had to be in the same room for about a year and a half to do this because there were so many decisions every day that if I took an email to write and wait to hear back from him,
Yeah.
or if he was out, it just threw my day away. I need you for 2 seconds to okay something. So and yes, we did write the next part of this in COVID, but I think moving forward, yes, you could do it, but it would take a lot more managerial skills from Mike and I to keep on top of people.
Yeah.
Because when we did this, it was there was a lot of people that helped us. Joe Lemieux helped us, but for the most part, it was me and Mike in an office just doing this for a year and a half at one point.
Right. And again, it's such a neat thing to see it all come together, though, and how it's grown too. It's pretty great. And the whole camaraderie too. We're all fans. If you can't tell from, Mike's background in his office, and my ridiculous inside of my brain, and Greg is a nerd as well. He loves all the same stuff we do. And it just, seeing it all come together, it really helps when you have that same shorthand too. Like, hey, remember that scene in Carpenter's, Escape from New York, blah, blah, blah. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it works really, really great. But I wanted to ask you, before we wrap up, one thing that's so neat about this, and Mike had brought up the fact that he's a Christmas horror fan, is the fact that this is a holiday horror that you can bring out, like, right around the same time that you're getting ready to bring it's Charlie Brown Christmas, if you will, counter programming. You can bring this out and watch it every year, and it's such a neat, different take. I've not seen anything until recently that really compares to Infinite Santa 8000 when it comes to being the most bizarre, batshit, hard rockin' Christmas movie ever. Can you talk about making this like an evergreen film? Like, what made you want to do Christmas?
Well, maybe Mike can talk more about why. Well, doing an evergreen is it's kind of
Smart.
whatever. It's always Christmas. It's like we have this. That was the reason to do it, was like, But I think to get back to like something specific we did in the movie to maybe make it have a little bit of something is we really, because Santa's not ruining this. He's a cyborg. He's a robot. He's been programmed. He has a huge backstory, but we wanted to keep him like the Hallmark Santa. We didn't like in things we have him getting depressed, but we didn't really want him. We kind of kept him simple and wanted to keep that. So that I think is part of the movie. Like the fact he wants to keep finding people to celebrate Christmas with, like that. Like if he became another way, then he wouldn't be Santa, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think I wanted to lose, or we wanted to lose that part of, no matter how bleak it gets, it's like we wanted to keep that.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I think there's really two answers to build on what Greg said. The first answer, doing an evergreen, is for as a business decision, because a lot of films come out and then they're gone and hopefully they find an audience. But with this, every year, like Greg said, Christmas comes around. This is something people can watch. And we've seen that, with fans growing over the years. But what's interesting is, like, so I'm a big horror fan, I mean, obviously. And I like my Christmas horror, and a lot of it I enjoy because it gets so disturbing and twisted. I mean, Terrifier 3 is a good recent example, but look at Silent Night, Deadly Night, Santa
All of them.
Sleigh, even the old and All Through the House from Tales from the Crypt, which is a comic book and 2 adaptations. Like,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
There's something appealing about taking the Christmas spirit and twisting it on its head. For one, Christmas can be stressful, so a way to kind of, just laugh at it or kind of take all the pressure off it and everything, I think is appealing. But at the same time, like, my first instinct, especially as a gore hound, was like, oh, let's make Santa crazy, and all that stuff. And Greg, I think very wisely, like he said, wanted to make him like Hallmark Santa. And I think there's 2 good things about that. One is it gives the film, the web series at first, and the film, like a moral center.
Without being too I didn't want to be religious at all either. Like that.
Yeah,
that's something we try to just stay away for 100 different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it becomes even more important in the film, the feature film, because I've seen this comment so many times on reviews. Thank God there is this sweet, heartwarming story as an anchor for the 854 kills in the movie that are like exhausting. Like, we just watched it recently at Horror Hound, and I'm always proud to see it, but I was like, I can need a nap. Like, this movie just never stops. And I think if we didn't have those little moments, that beautiful, sweet story. I mean, if Santa was a complete, asshole, I think it would be unwatchable, So, and it makes it different than others, So,
well, and it's like his relationship with Martha and her being sort of like he sees within her every child that's so sweet and innocent and loves the holiday and is good, and his whole impetus is to protect her. And it just, that relationship and the whole thing, like you said, about him looking for goodness within this just hellscape that you've put him in, is brilliant. Like, it follows my thinking of, the more I love a character, the more they have to suffer. And, I mean, the more you love them, who doesn't love Santa? Like, all of their heart, you're gonna just put him through hell, and you do, but it's great. So, well, that being said, let's go ahead and watch a clip from the film, and so you guys can see what we were talking about in regards to the relationship of Santa and Martha, and how this film, even though it does have, as Mike said, about 2,000 decapitations and probably double that in just limbs being lopped off, a heart to it that can really get to you.
Santa, story, please.
Okay. I'll tell you about my best Christmas Eve ever. Years ago, before the wars, when all the boys and girls were good, no naughty kids, the children would leave out a note telling me, Santa, what they wanted. Sometimes it was a doll. sometimes a bike. Sometimes they wanted a new brother. Imagine that. After everyone was asleep, I'd climb down the chimney. The children would leave treats for me, mainly cookies, sometimes donuts. Oh, this one year, someone left a beer. Wow, I can still taste it. The children would hang stockings, and I'd fill them with candy and toys. I made everyone so happy that year. Kids got what they wanted. We had dolls and bikes and video games and computers. It was heaven. When the boys and girls woke up that Christmas morning, oh, the laughter and the happiness. I could hear it all the way at the North Pole. It was the Christmas spirit, and it was wonderful. It's my favorite story because it's the last perfect Christmas I can remember. After that, well, everything changed. People changed. They lost hope.
Lost?
Yes, it was sad, but you...
Me?
Yes, you. You have the spirit in you, the Christmas spirit, just like I do. And you know, Martha, I think one day we'll find others like us. We'll just have to keep looking.
Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this first episode of the Infinite Santa 8000 podcast. The gents here have very sweetly posted up for your pleasure and reading the original scripts from the series, the original webisodes, and you can check those out at the there's a link in the description below where you can find those to read. Also, if you're ready to baptize yourself in the blood of the holidays, you can go to Tubi and stream Infinite Santa 8000, the director's cut. It is available for streaming on Tubi right now, so you can just ho your holidays away with horror. So guys, again, this has been great.
Awesome.
Can't wait to do this again so we can dig in more. What can our viewers and listeners expect in future, Greg?
I think in the future, I mean, at least this year, we're probably going to do an episode on writing, and we're probably going to get my pal Anthony and maybe his mixer Cariotti to explain a lot about the music.
That'll be fantastic.
A deep dive into the metal. We might be able to get Josh and Todd on. Todd can be MIA, but see what they have to say about playing. But yes, I think probably writing might be the next one, and music. And then in the future, we're going to get the artists. We're going to get into some of the animations we've done, and giving examples, like posting the After Effects and a lot of the files. So if you're sometimes doing this, actually getting your hands on the material to start, if you don't have, we're just going to post some of it so you can play around with it if you're interested in it.
And also, I believe we're going to try and get some of the voice actors involved with this as well, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are interested in that. Voice acting's coming up in the world. Like right now, voice actors are on the same level as feature film actors at shows and conventions, just for popularity, because of anime and animation just taking over the world right now. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited for future ups for you guys. I love the fact that we're taking the time to give you information on the behind the scenes stuff and how this stuff comes together. And if you ever have questions, please in the comments, let us know. Post what you think, what you want to know about. If you have direct questions for the guys or myself, please do, so we can answer them for you. We're happy to do so. So with that, thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Santa. This has been the Infinite Santa 8000 podcast. See you next time.
The Infinite Santa 8000 podcast is a Burnt Reindeer Films production. The podcast is produced by Greg Ansin, Michael Neel, and Jessica Dwyer. Music performed by Todd Cuff, Josh Quadra, Anthony J. Resta, and Jasper Neel. For more information on the film and the podcast, please visit infinitesanta.com.